Hey, what's up everybody? This is Osterberg501 and today I want to go over some new information that was leaked for Diablo 4. Now with this information, there was also a handful of screenshots that were leaked, and this was all from a family and friends beta, which is essentially beta tests that a lot of gaming companies do before they start doing closed beta tests with the general public and then go into open beta and stuff like that. And I won't be showing any of the screenshots in this video, but you can go Google them if you want to. You're not really going to see much. There is a little bit of information that I want to talk about from these screenshots, but generally all of these screenshots are just showing the character customization, so just creating your character at the start of the game, and we get to see the UI, which clearly isn't finished and will probably look quite a bit different on launch. And then we get to see some of the options, so you have your race and body type, hair, accessories, color, all the different customization options. But we have seen a lot more of these character creation options in just quarterly updates officially released from Blizzard than we get to see in these leaked screenshots, and they're low quality. So realistically, if you don't go look them up, you're not missing much of anything. You can just go to the quarterly updates and see high quality images showing basically the same customizations. But there is a few bits of information I want to go over from these leaks. First off, being two different difficulties that they show on this character creator. And when starting off the game, it seems like you're going to be able to choose between one of two world tiers. So either world tier 1, which is adventurer. This is recommended to new players of Diablo. Enemies are easy to defeat and drops are average. Or world tier 2, which is veteran, and this is recommended for Diablo veterans. Enemies will challenge you, you get better drops, and you have increased XP and gold. So this is essentially just a difficulty option for the start of the game. And then there's also something that seems a little bit more unique, and you get to choose your tutorial preference. So you can choose more or less guidance. More guidance will be for newer players that will have much more in-depth tutorials to help you learn the game, and then less guidance seems like it'll probably take away most, if not all, of the tutorial if you're a more experienced player. It's actually a nice option to have, especially at the start of the game, so you don't have to go look through option menus when tutorials become annoying to try to turn them off. And one of the most interesting things about these leaks is we get to see a few different options. Specifically, there is a hardcore option you can choose, which is as you would expect. If that character dies, you can't play him anymore. But then there is also a tab for seasonal, which is grayed out in these leaks, but it says seasonal, start fresh and compete with friends to reap exclusive rewards. And then there's also a view seasonal rewards on it. So this is confirming that seasons are going to be in the game. There are going to be season specific rewards, which is all stuff that pretty much everybody would expect to be in the game. But now we do have a full confirmation that at least in these leaks, this is stuff that is planned to be in the game on release. Now that's pretty much all the information we can get from the leaked screenshots. Like I mentioned, there's not really anything crazy in there. Pretty much everything I just went over is stuff that you would fully expect to be in the game. So getting the confirmation on this stuff isn't surprising whatsoever. But there was also some new additional information that was leaked by a playtester. Now also keep in mind, this is definitely going to be an older build, and it's going to be a really old build when the game is actually fully released. So this stuff is definitely not going to be set in stone, and I pretty much almost guarantee this stuff will be changed in some way before the release of the game. Now the two big pieces of information is that smart loot will be in Diablo 4, and we got some further information on how trading is going to work, or how a piece of the trading is going to work. So first off, if you don't know what smart loot is, this is something that is in Diablo 3 as well. It's also in other ARPG games like this, and this is essentially when you're playing a class, most of the loot you're getting will specifically be dropped for that class. And specifically with Diablo 3, I think their smart loot is like 80 or 85%. So this would essentially mean that 80 or 85% of all loot you get is specifically usable for the class you're currently playing, but then that other 15 or 20% can be drops for other classes. Now there really isn't much information besides the confirmation that smart loot is in Diablo 4 in that playtest build, so we don't know how smart it would actually be, if it's just going to be 100% or if it's going to be something like Diablo 3. And personally, I think something like Diablo 3 is generally a pretty good system, and I don't think many people have that big of a deal with it. If you have, say, 80% smart loot, so 80% of the loot you get is for whatever class you're playing, and then the other 20% 10% can potentially be loot for other classes. I think that's actually a really good spot for loot because mostly everything you're getting is for your class, helping you gear up that class. You're not feeling like you're playing a class and gearing up all your other characters, but you can also get some other loot for your other classes, which could potentially make you want to go play another class, go test out another build. Maybe you get like a legendary for a different class and now you want to go play that class. So in my opinion, that is a good place for smart loot to be. I would expect that's probably where they're going to end up landing on, something similar to Diablo 3. Now, the other leaked information is on trading, which is going to be quite a lot more controversial. And essentially this information boiled down to you can't trade legendary or set items, which are in the same rarity tier, and you can't trade unique items, which is considered to be the highest rarity tier. But lower tier items you can trade in limited amounts, which isn't really explained past that. Now, the developers actually did touch on this a few years ago, I think when the game was actually originally announced, and essentially how they were talking about it is there's going to be different classes of gear. So one class of gear you could trade as much as you want, one class of gear you could only trade once, and then the highest class of gear you couldn't trade at all, which could potentially still be within this system. It just depends how they're going to go about it. Now, with them touching on this in the past and this being leaked, this probably means that unless there's a big change due to player feedback, you're probably not going to be able to have fully free trading. And personally for me, if there's not like an auction house type system integrated into the game, I'm not somebody that really cares that much about trading, because in a lot of games, Path of Exile, Diablo 2, a lot of other games like this, trading usually is primarily taking place on third-party websites or third-party forums, stuff like that. And I personally don't really have an interest in partaking in that quite a bit. I know there is definitely a small part of the community that really wants full trading, but it's seeming like that isn't going to be in Diablo 4. And if I were to have to guess, I would probably say that anything under rare, you're able to trade as much as you want. And also keep in mind that magic items may actually be usable in builds in this game with how they're going about statting. And then probably rare items have the limited trading amount. And then anything above rare, which would be legendary, set, and unique, probably won't able to be traded if we're going off these leaks and what was set back in 2019. But like I already mentioned, this stuff can be massively changed by the time the game is released. And depending on how many people in the community actually want this, they could potentially change it off that, because player feedback has actually changed Diablo 4 quite a bit. If you go through all of the quarterly updates in order, you'll see pretty much every single major system be heavily changed, specifically because of player feedback and the community saying what they like and what they don't like. Now, I also have seen some other possible information and leaks that there are other UI elements in some of these test builds that show that there could potentially be more open trading than is currently being mentioned in these specific leaks, but I would take that with a big grain of salt. And I also want to do a video specifically looking into all of the information on trading and smart looting that we currently have, so keep an eye out for that. And I'll probably go over this in that video as well, but another reason they could potentially want a looting to be not completely open and be more limited is that it will also pretty heavily drive down botting and RMTing, which is something that is still pretty prevalent in games like this that have full trading, like Path of Exile, like Diablo 2. Any loot-driven game that has fully open looting will always have a massive botting and massive RMTing issues, and they could potentially not want to deal with those issues, so that could also be another reason why they want trading to be a bit more clamped down and not completely open. But that's pretty much all the information I want to go over for these new leaks. Like I mentioned, there's only a few bits of information we got that were super important from these leaks. Like I said, most of the stuff you could see in the quarterly updates, and you could see them in higher quality than were shown in these leaks. The main information here is smart loot being in Diablo 4, which I also fully expected, and then the trading information that is probably still up for a lot of changes. But that's all I want to go over, so subscribe if you want to see more Diablo 4 or other videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. If you comment down below what you guys think about all this leaked information, and thanks for watching.